Another first for President Obama. Just after 5 p.m. today in Chicago, he will be the first president to cast his vote early. So far, more than 3 million Americans have voted early in the 35 states that allow early voting, including the key state of Ohio. And a new Time poll shows that President Obama is leading Mitt Romney among Ohio voters who've already voted or plan to vote, 49 to 44%. Joining me now, contributing writer for Roll Call, Nathan Gonzales, also deputy editor for the Rothenberg Political Report. Good to see you. Good morning.
Thanks for having me on.
So the Time poll also shows President Obama has a 2-to-1 advantage among those who've already voted in Ohio, 60 to 30%. Now, Republicans always assumed Democrats would have the advantage in early voting, but did these results tell us something, anything significant about the state of Ohio?
Well, I think that's part of the problem. I think it is a data point worth taking in as we all try to figure out what's going on, but I'm not sure of its predictive value. I get the feeling that sometimes we place too much emphasis on early voting, and that the race is for how many more early votes can you get, when an early vote, a vote cast today, matters just as much as a vote cast on November 6th. Another reason why I pause on the predictive value of early voting is because this is still a fairly new phenomenon. I mean, we've had absentee and early voting before, but in terms of the campaign's emphasis on getting out the early vote, that is, we're still 2 or 3 presidential cycles into that emphasis, and so we're not sure whether it's just getting some of those votes you already knew you had in the bank early, or if it's somehow reaching a margin that is Mitt Romney can't cross on Election Day. Yeah,
to that point, the Pew Center on the states estimates as many as 35% of all votes will come in this year before Election Day. The Early Voting Information Center actually puts it even higher at 40%. Both would be up from the 30% of 4 years ago. So the Obama team in particular has talked about whether that could be a firewall, and what you're suggesting is we may be some time, maybe even more than this election, away from really knowing how that works?
Well, I think that it would be a better firewall if early voting had started in September when the president was doing better, but now that the early voting started after the first presidential debate, which was, I think, changed at least the frame of the election, I think it's much less clear that whether he is building that firewall or not. But it's true that once those early votes are cast, they can't go back and change them. So next Friday morning, when the new jobs numbers come out, those voters won't have an opportunity to change their decision based on whether those numbers are good or bad. So there's an advantage for the parties, but I'm still, it's not sure whether it will tell us who's going to win on Election Day. Yeah,
get it in the bank. Do we have a good sense right now of what kind of impact early voting, which is broader than it has been, is having on both campaigns in terms of their strategy?
Well, I think both campaigns, they're not going for the base. They're not trying to turn out the hardcore voters, because they know that they're going to be there whether it's now or in a week and a half. But they are trying to target those softer voters, because those are ones, if they can get them to make up their mind now, whatever messages they need to do to convince them, then those are the voters that they would treasure and rather have, because they can't change their mind if the news of the day changes against their candidate in the final week.
Nathan Gonzales, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Former Secretary of